Sometimes real estate just sucks. Let's talk about it. So if you clicked on this video, it means you have some interest in real estate. Either you're an agent who's struggling, or you're a seller who's looking to sell, or maybe you're a buyer who's wondering when is the right time to pull the trigger. Let's talk about it in a nutshell, because I am here to tell you that sometimes real estate is amazing. Sometimes it's not. And it's okay, because it's a cyclical market and the good times come with the bad, and we're going to get through it. But in these hard times, it's important that we tighten up our processes, because slower markets are going to expose weaknesses in your processes as a business owner. And so I'm going to be speaking a lot to agents in terms of lessons learned that have kind of reared their ugly head for me over the past couple weeks. But I'm also going to be talking to you, sellers and buyers, because I think it's important that we all understand what's happening out there so that we can work together to hopefully create a more stable market. Agents, I'm going to talk to you first. And if you're still in business right now, congratulations, because we're few and far between. There are so many agents that have already had to step away from their business for one reason or another, but mostly financial, because it is really hard out there. So congratulations if you're still in business. And if you feel like you're struggling and you're barely holding on, I'm right there with you, okay? And so many other people are too. So just hold on, listen to these tips. Maybe they resonate with you. Hopefully they help you put one foot in front of the other and we can get somewhere together. First things first, most agents right now have listings on the market that are not selling. And if you're not familiar with how this goes, you're paying for all the marketing expenses on the front end. And that means that you're paying and paying and paying, and you get the houses on the market and then they sit. And then you're continuing to market these homes, and so you're continuing to spend money, but they're not getting under contract like they once were. And then you have more people that are contacting you and wanting to get their homes on the market, so you're continuing to spend money. And it's this cycle of just spending and spending and spending. And eventually that money runs out. I know some agents that have over 10 listings on the market currently. I know one agent that has over 30 listings on the market currently. That is nearly impossible to keep up with regards to just seller expectations and open houses and marketing. I can't even imagine the amount of resources that she has deployed right now trying to keep up with those listings. That is hard in and of itself. So what do we do, right? We obviously are in the business of taking listings because listings turn into future leads, and that is how we've always been taught to do things. But in this market, you almost want to be a little bit more selective than you were before, because if you look at a house and you know that it's not going to sell, either it's not in the right condition and the seller's not willing to improve it, or maybe the price that the seller wants for it isn't possible for you to get out of it in this market, and the seller's not willing to sell it for what the market says it's worth, those are probably not listings that you should be taking right now. In a different market where everything was flying off the shelf, sure, like go for it. But in this market, I'm gonna tell you firsthand, because I've done this a couple times in the past few months, they're not moving. And in my case, we were either competing with new construction, where the builders down the street were giving super low interest rates and we couldn't compete no matter how many concessions we gave. Or maybe we were backing up to a busy road, or we were overpriced, or any number of things. But I personally have had 3 listings that have canceled this month because the homes didn't sell in the period of time that the seller either needed them to or expected them to. And that's hard, because that means that all of that money that I spent and all that time that I spent, it's just gone. And that doesn't feel good, number one, but it also really has an impact financially to your business. And so if you are in the same boat as me, and maybe you've taken those listings and now you're thinking twice, just know that it doesn't have to stop here. Like, let's just move forward differently. Let's either have the hard conversations with sellers up front so that we can set expectations properly, or be comfortable saying no so that you can give your best yes to somebody else. Because if a seller's not prepared to face what today's market is, they may not be the right fit for you right now. As agents, the other thing that we cannot do is we cannot find ourselves comparing to one another on social media. Don't look at social media with envious eyes, because it'll kill your confidence, it'll kill your motivation, it'll kill everything. When you are in a market that's hard, you need to be spending every moment internally, focusing on what can I do better, what processes can I improve, how can I better serve my clients, to hopefully get these homes moved or whatever the task at hand may be. If you spend all your time looking at other people and thinking they're doing amazing, one of two things is going to happen. Either they are doing amazing or they're faking it really well. And you don't know which is happening because we're all on social media and we all give only our highlight reel on social media. So if there's somebody that you really admire and you think they're doing amazing, pick up the phone and call them and ask them. And most of us are pretty willing to talk about how things are going openly because it's kind of a cool community of agents. And even though we're all in competition with one another, I may be speaking for myself here, but I want to see everybody else succeed because I feel like we have a little bit of a scarlet letter as agents, right? And we're treated like less than by a lot of people. And I mean, just look at any of the comments on my YouTube videos. People can't wait to smash agents and talk about how we're unnecessary and overpaid. And so if there is somebody online that you think is doing great, call them because chances are that agent wants to see you succeed. All right, buyers, you're next. You have so many choices right now. And the problem is that you're stuck in this period of like, what do I do, right? Because you're looking at homes and looking at homes and looking at homes because there's so many homes to look at and you're not making any decisions because you have this fear inside from what I'm hearing that the perfect house might be the next one that comes on the market. And because there's always more homes coming on the market and the homes that you looked at previously aren't going anywhere, there's really no urgency to make a decision. And you pair that with kind of the economic uncertainty that's happening and where are interest rates and where are they going to be and are we ever going to have a rate cut and what is this going to look like and is now the right time to buy? There's so many questions that happen in the mind of a buyer that I understand this paralysis that happens. But I also know that historically, the best time to buy was yesterday and the next best time to buy is today. Because while rates go up and down, home prices over time have continued to appreciate. So if you look back at the historical data from 2008 or 2009, those home prices, even though it was a terrible market at the time, are down here. And today we're up here. So if you're in a long game to buy a house and live in it, then there really shouldn't be a fear around pulling the trigger. Because if you hold it long enough, in this particular market I can speak to, we are seeing continuous appreciation. Now, I can't say it's going to happen overnight. And what we saw during the COVID years was an explosion, and that's not likely to happen again. So you do still have to buy it at the right price. You're not going to make money when you sell the house. You're going to make money on the buy side. So I understand the need to shop around, and I understand the need to do your research. I'm not minimizing that, but don't do it so long that you miss out. We saw so many people do this in COVID where homes were moving quickly and they waited too long and then they got priced out of where they wanted to be and so they never bought. And what we're hearing is that for every 1% drop in interest rate, if that ever comes, 5 million buyers will re-enter the market. And that's gonna be a different type of boom. So don't get caught up today and miss the opportunity and then have to scramble later. And the next thing that I wanna say is there is no perfect house. Even if you build one, even if it's a custom build with everything you could have imagined, it still won't be perfect by the time you get done because you will have been thinking through, oh, what if I did this? Or maybe you hopped on a website and you're like, we should have done that. And then it's too late to add it. There's no perfect house, but there is a house that's perfect for you. So sit down and figure out which items are your must-haves and which items are your would be nice to have, and pick the house that makes the most sense to you. I showed 31 homes over a weekend 2 weeks ago. None of those homes were perfect. And we saw them all consecutively in super tight windows. And none of them were the exact right fit enough for that buyer to pull the trigger on it. So I'm speaking from experience here. We're not just trying to get you into a home that doesn't make sense and doesn't check your boxes. We truly do want you to find the house that makes you happiest and that makes the most sense for you. But if you release the pressure of having to find the perfect house, it makes the process a whole lot more enjoyable for you because you don't feel like you're missing out and that pressure's gone. All right, sellers, it's your turn. You're probably wondering why your house isn't selling, and you're not alone because nobody's house is selling right now. And it's because buyers aren't making any decisions. And what we're seeing is that homes are coming on the market at the same speed that they've always come on. We're not seeing an influx of inventory coming to market all at one time. But what we are seeing is the inventory that came on last week and the week before and the week before that is still there. And so now the inventory that's continuing to come is compounding on that. And so it's not that there's just this overwhelming amount of people that are dumping their house. We're not falling apart. We just are seeing homes sit longer than they previously have. Now, it's important for me to point out that a balanced market is when a home sits for 6 months, exactly. And anything that sells faster than 6 months is considered a seller's market. And anything that sells over 6 months, it's a buyer's market. So we are technically still in a seller's market. It just doesn't feel like it. Because during COVID, we got so used to a home pops on a market and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go see it right now, write a contract, and we're done and we're under contract. There were times where I'd be sitting down at dinner with my family and my phone would ring and I would pop up and run out the door because that's how fast it was moving. And that's just not the reality of today. But we are still very much in a seller's market. We're just trending towards a balanced market. So don't be afraid to sell. This is not a fear tactic. This is just a reality conversation where it's important for you to understand before you get into this situation that your expectations might not be accurate. Please don't shoot the messenger when the agent walks through your door and tells you what your home is probably going to sell for, because they're looking at data for what's happening today. Previously, we would look at recent comparable sales reports, we call them comps, and we would take those numbers and we would price ahead of it, thinking that it was going to trend upward. We're not doing that right now. What we're doing is we're looking at the active competition in your neighborhood, and we're comparing it to very similar homes if possible, and we're getting hyper local. If there's not anything in your neighborhood, we're expanding to maybe what feeds to your elementary school. We are trying to stay so local because we want to know what is available in your purchase price. If I'm coming in with $400,000, what can I buy? And if I can buy this house over here for $390, but you want $405, guess what? Buyers are going to go $390 all day long. They might come look at your house and inconvenience you and force you to clean up and get your dogs and your kids and whoever else might be in the way out of the home, but they're going to trend towards the best deal because that's what buyers can do right now because there's so many choices. Look at what's active and available in your market and then decide if you are comfortable with that sales price. If you're not comfortable with that sales price, it's probably not the right time for you to sell. I can't say if it's going to get better in 6 months. It might, or it might continue to trend down for a little bit. I don't know. But what I do know is you shouldn't waste your time or the agent's time if it's not going to sell. It's frankly miserable for you, right? Think about the listing process. You have to clean, sometimes you have to do touch-up paint, you've got to take photos, you've got to prepare for showings, you've got to open houses. Selling your home is not easy. In fact, I tell my sellers, you're probably going to hate me for a couple weeks until we get under contract. And that's just the reality of it. And so I want to tell you, don't be afraid to sell. Just be very realistic of, is this the right time for me to sell? So now that I've completely come across as Debbie Downer, what do we do about it? There's a couple things that we can do. Agents, stop looking on social media and start picking up your phone. Stop taking overpriced listings and start having the hard conversations up front so that these homes don't sit on the market for weeks on end before getting to the right price and before becoming attractive to buyers. Buyers, give yourself the freedom to believe that the house that you saw could actually be the right home for you. Stop looking for the perfect home. And remember that there is no perfect home, no matter how many you see or if you decide to build. And sellers, understand and trust your agent when they tell you what the market is. We don't set the market. We just help you interpret it. We want you to get as much money as possible. That's literally our goal. But we can't do it without your help. We can't make you sell your house. We can just help you sell your house. So trust us. You hired us. Trust us. And I think that if we can all come together, agents, buyers, and sellers, I think if we can all work together, then we really can begin to shift this market because all three of these parties work together to create a better environment. And if one is a little bit off kilter, out of balance, then the whole equilibrium is off. So let's find a way to work together and let's see what we can do. And in the meantime, we're gonna pray for lower interest rates. Buyers, you're trying to find the perfect home and it's not out there. You don't buy the perfect home. You buy the house that checks the most boxes and you create the home through memories and friends and family. Don't pressure yourself to find the perfect home. Create it. So if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. The goal wasn't to be Debbie Downer, and it wasn't to tell you that the market's terrible and that you shouldn't buy or you shouldn't sell or that as agents we should all drop out and get different jobs. That was not the goal of the video. But I think that sometimes being authentic and raw is important because either you're struggling in indecision or you're struggling because your house isn't selling or you're struggling as an agent because you feel like you're the only one who isn't successful in this market. And that's just frankly not the case. None of those are true. There are people like you that are in your same situation. You just have to find them. You have to find that community. And so if I can help in any way, that's what this video is all about. And this whole channel is about making real estate a little bit more fun and a little bit less stressful. And so thanks for watching. It really does make a difference, and I'll see you in the next video.